So Skrillex has once again released heat. On April 1st, Skrillex would release a mix called Skrillex You Think You're Andy Warhol But You're Not, whatever it's called, you know what it's called, hosted by DJ Smokey, and it's once again proved that Skrillex is continuing to stay relevant and release heat into the modern day. I mean, we had Quest for Fire and the one with the hedgehog on it. The one with the hedgehog on it was pretty bad, but Quest for Fire was an incredibly good electronic album, and Skrillex is continuing to put out stuff and make stuff and do DJ sets that are pushing forward electronic music in a really beneficial way. And it got me thinking, Skrillex might have been one of the most overhated artists in the entirety of not only electronic music, but just music in general, because the reason for his extreme hate is not his fault at all. And he's proved since that people not only love brostep and Skrillex's kind of style of dubstep, but Skrillex and his music and a lot of the stuff he was able to do in a time where the vast majority of the dubstep community and even electronic community completely hated him. So let's do a little bit of a history lesson here. So when you think of dubstep, you probably do just think of Skrillex, but that's not entirely correct. Skrillex is brostep. Obviously, he's very vast with what he can produce and what he does produce, and he has produced traditional dubstep before. But when you think of like Scary Monsters, Nice Sprites, that is brostep. But dubstep was actually a genre that was born in the UK, with the most prominent artist within that scene being Burial. And if you listen to Burial, it is not like it's more like you understand? It's music that really reflects the dark and dreary reality of living in the United Kingdom, specifically living in London. It's very minimal, it's very bassy, it's very deep, filled with samples and ambience. It's incredibly deep music that makes you feel a certain way. It doesn't harass you. It's very subtle, it's very tasteful. It is not what dubstep came to be. So based on that, you can probably imagine the reason Skrillex is so hated is because he became so widely known as the pioneer of dubstep, whilst there are extremely celebrated artists beforehand who were creating dubstep that was completely different to Skrillex. So why did this actually happen? Well, there's a really good documentary on YouTube called All My Homies Hate Skrillex. It's incredibly good. You should probably watch that instead of this one. This is more of an updated kind of thing, where he would explain how dubstep within the UK would slowly become more akin to the kind of brostep sound, with more kind of stabs and more hype sections due to the indoor smoking ban in the UK. So originally people would go to dubstep raves and kind of chill in the corner and smoke because they were able to smoke inside. And that meant that the DJs had a lot more power to play whatever they wanted, which meant they could contrast the calmer dubstep with the more aggressive, just do a more tasteful mix. And then the really aggressive aspects would be huge payoff, if you know what I mean. When smoking was banned, you'd have to go outside to the smoking area to smoke. And obviously every dubstep listener chiefs like a motherfucker. So the dubstep DJs began only playing the hype songs, the songs that sound more akin to like Flux Pavilion than in the Burial, if you know what I mean. And they continued to play the hype music so people wouldn't feel the need to go outside because they'd miss a hype section. And it kind of slowly pushed dubstep into a more hype direction. And then dubstep entered America. And as we all know in the UK, as soon as anything enters America, it becomes so overblown, so over the top, so commercialized, so colorful and annoying. And that is what happened with dubstep. As much as I like a lot of the artists from brostep in America, that is simply the case. And Skrillex was at the forefront of this. He was the most popular because he made really good music, obviously, but the way in which he looked was incredibly over the top. The way in which he presented his music videos was incredibly over the top. His album covers, his visual style, it was all incredibly over the top, which means it attracted some of the, let's say, stupidest fans. And I don't just mean Americans. I mean like bros, frat dudes. That's the kind of people that became attracted to dubstep. So it was no longer like these small, dark, dreary, countercultural raves that you went to because you were passionate about the music. No, it was a place that like Ziz would go to try and pick up women. It very much changed, and Skrillex was at the forefront of this, which means he in turn was hated by the vast majority of the original dubstep community. And I believe that hatred then transitioned into just general hatred, because brostep is an acquired taste, obviously. It's very stabby, it's very loud, all the modulated synth sounds. It's very difficult to listen to for a lot of people, and it's very annoying for a lot of people, which means because he had this baseline hate, he was going to get more hate. And then he was packaged in with Justin Bieber, and he was packaged in with all these other things. But the thing is, Skrillex was always doing things that were incredibly interesting. If you didn't know, he used to be the lead singer of a metal band. I don't remember which subgenre, please don't butcher me. So he took what he had learned from like metal percussion and metal production, he took that into electronic music and made something that was incredibly interesting and unique. And in the years since, he has continued to prove how diverse of a producer he is, and also how tapped into the underground and modern trends he is as well. For example, he has collabed with some of the most trendy artists, Young Lean, Blade, Corbin. The DJ Smokey host recently is insane. I mean, DJ Smokey is probably one of the most prominent producers and hosts in the underground at the moment, and he fits so perfectly with the over-the-top nature of dubstep music, which Skrillex has kind of returned to on his recent mix. But the thing is, Skrillex is talented. He's incredibly nice. He works with so many smaller artists and gives them a platform, and he is perhaps one of the most hated artists in the history of electronic music, period. And I know that's dampening now, but it still happened, and it just wasn't his fault. He became successful off of a style of music that he enjoyed making and that people happened to enjoy. But it just so happened that because genre labels are consistently stupid and genre labels consistently get warped and changed based on what's happening at the time, Skrillex got given the dubstep label, which then kind of erased the history of the original dubstep, which is changing now because obviously I've said this many times on my main channel, the internet makes it so that you can actually research these genres. You're not just presented with information by labels and stuff. So it's happened with so many genres, Screamo and Scrams. Screamo got completely like definition wise and then turned into Scrams, and now it's back to Screamo. Same with breakcore, although that hasn't really fixed itself because that is entirely because of the internet. So it's not Skrillex's fault that you made a certain style of music. It's the way in which music is presented by record labels, and it's the way in which genres are used to define music. And I've always said genres are very important so people can find the kind of music that they want to listen to. It helps the music business, it helps artists sell. That's the most important thing. But it does become a nuanced discussion and quite difficult when genres are being warped into meaning different things. That is the problem. But yeah, Skrillex is continuing to prove that he is an incredibly diverse producer, releases incredibly good stuff time and time again. I mean, Quest for Fire was my most listened to album of that year, I know, which is weird coming from the kind of stuff I do on the main channel, but it's true. And I think the new mix will probably be the same. And I'm glad to see the change in how he is treated and how he is respected nowadays, because he is now becoming one of the most respected producers. And that is mainly because of nostalgia. People look back very fondly at the brostep era, because the people who are very young and enjoyed the brostep era like I did are now in their early 20s, and they have the ability to consume and actually have an opinion on music that's more valued, I guess, than just like a little kid. And then all the people who are in the original dubstep scene just probably don't care anymore, to be honest. And it is cool to see, and I'm excited to see what he is able to do into the future, because it's clear his scope is incredibly vast, his talent is immense, and it's a nice redemption arc, because I mean, a lot of the people who are in those kind of music is bad memes, I mean, look at Justin Bieber now, he's tweaking on a bus and releasing Island Boy music, so there's that.